auditor named Brian Ferentz went through all of TPUSA's tax documents and found that in just 2023, a large life insurance policy was taken out on Charlie Kirk. As you can see here, GGLF LLC paid for a split dollar life insurance policy for the president/CEO.
Wow, there's a lot unfolding right now, and it's getting wild. Things around TPUSA are heating up fast, and people are seriously starting to wonder what's really happening behind the scenes. Now, I'll be honest, this group wasn't something I used to follow closely. I'm not really a politics-focused person. I just dive into stories that are fascinating, unexpected, or raise big questions. And when someone respected ends up caught in something so public and mysterious, of course, it grabs everyone's attention. At first, the whole situation seemed tragic, right? Many were saying, let's not be too harsh on them. They're clearly going through something tough. And honestly, that made sense in the beginning. But the deeper you dig, the stranger everything starts to look. It's like every new detail pulls back another layer, and you can't help but ask, what is really going on here? Now, let's talk about this alleged life insurance policy that's got people whispering. The numbers being mentioned are massive, like the kind of money that could change lives overnight. And with that kind of figure, some folks online have started wondering if there's more to the story. Could something be staged? Could someone have just vanished to start fresh somewhere else? It sounds crazy, but people are connecting dots that keep getting harder to ignore. And that's not all. There are also some shocking claims surfacing about Erika Kirk's father. Details that, if true, could completely change how people view everything connected to this case. Plus, reports say TPUSA may have been moving large sums toward a senator in Arizona linked to what's being described as a phantom office. That part alone has the internet talking nonstop.
Of Turning Point USA, aka Charlie Kirk. Annual premiums for this policy are massive, $350,000 per year, meaning that the death benefit for someone who is 31 years old and a non-smoker would be between $20 and $50 million. All of this information is public because TPUSA is a registered 501c3 nonprofit, so you can go ahead and look up this information for yourself.
It's one twist after another, and none of this is adding up cleanly. All right, let's jump right into this, because what's coming next is honestly wild. We've got theories, receipts, and some serious questions that people can't stop asking. And it all starts with that life insurance policy that everyone online is whispering about. It's the key piece in this strange puzzle. Now, before we dig in, let's clear something up. You do not have to give your spouse a life insurance policy. That's not some universal rule. In fact, big companies and organizations sometimes take out their own policies on people who work for them, so if anything happens, the company, not the family, collects the payout. Sounds like something out of a dark drama, right? But that's a real thing that happens in the business world. Now, in this case, it's likely the policy was meant to go to Charlie or his wife, but people online can't help but question the timing and tone surrounding it all. Some viewers noticed how certain reactions came across as strange, like someone trying to act emotional but not quite pulling it off. People started saying things like, why does this feel rehearsed? Or, that doesn't look like real shock. And then there's the amount being whispered about, $32 million. That's not just a payout, that's a fortune that can completely flip someone's life upside down overnight. Imagine suddenly having that kind of money in your hands when you've never managed sums like that before. It raises eyebrows, and understandably so. Now, I'm not here to say what happened or what didn't, but this kind of story always invites speculation, especially when it connects to people already under public pressure. The energy online is crazy right now, with everyone from finance buffs to random Reddit detectives trying to break it down like it's a mystery thriller.
GGLF 2023 LLC is also owned by Charlie Kirk, so why would he have one business paying one of his other businesses for his own life insurance policy? Because it's a common tax strategy for high net worth individuals that comes with massive write-offs and deductions, making sure that the beneficiary would not have to pay a massive estate tax of up to 40%, meaning on a $10 million death benefit policy, that could trigger a $4 million tax bill. Remember, in this case, the payout is supposed to be a lot bigger than that. The timing of taking out such a large policy so close to the date he was executed.
And speaking of mysteries, let's move on to what's being said about Erika Kirk's family, because the podcast episode that brought this up had people's jaws dropping. Allegedly, there are links being discussed between her family and a certain Middle Eastern country. If that's true, it would definitely make people question if this was more than just a normal relationship, maybe something that had strategic undertones. Now, some are even floating the idea that it might have been an arranged marriage situation, which isn't unusual in certain circles, but again, that's only speculation. Still, it would explain some of the oddly formal energy people have noticed between them on camera. It's like everything was calculated. Every look, every line, every appearance had purpose. And there's this ongoing joke about someone named Cash, but here's the deal. It's clearly just a play on words, not about any specific person. The real focus is on how money and influence seem to keep crossing paths in this story, and every new piece of information adds another spark to the fire. Then there's the discussion about massive government contracts. Trillions of dollars moving around between big companies and agencies. That kind of money always raises questions about where it goes and who benefits from it. It's not a small sum, it's astronomical, and the idea that this might somehow connect back to people involved in this story makes everything 10 times more suspicious. And here's where it gets even stranger. The timelines, the missing footage, and the way certain individuals act in interviews, it all feels just slightly off, like someone's poker face isn't holding up under pressure. You can tell when someone's pretending versus when they're genuinely shaken, and a lot of these public moments feel off script.
Is interesting, considering this was far past the time that he had nationally broken out and become a huge public figure with TPUSA. It could, of course, be because he got married and had 2 children and wanted to make sure that they were protected in case anything happened. But that's making an assumption that we know who received this money. Even though this tax information is public, how much the policy paid out and who the beneficiary is private. Now, one would assume it's Erika Kirk, but if it was somebody else, that would be quite interesting. As always, I want to hear what you think about all of this down below.
Now, no one's saying anything definitive, but all these pieces together start painting a picture that doesn't feel natural. It's got people online saying the same thing over and over. Something's not right here, the clues don't match, the emotions don't match, and the timing definitely doesn't match. And when so many faces seem to be wearing the same uncomfortable expression, that tells you there might be more beneath the surface. People started noticing something strange, like really strange. Many couldn't shake the feeling that her reactions didn't match what you'd expect from someone going through something that heartbreaking. You'd think the grief would pour out naturally, right? But it felt almost rehearsed. The expressions, the tone, the timing, everything seemed a little too controlled, like someone trying hard to look emotional instead of actually being overcome by it. And now, sure, everyone handles pain differently, and shock can make people act robotic. But when the person's background includes acting and public appearances, people start to wonder if that stiffness is emotional distance or performance. The internet noticed the same thing during interviews and public moments. This polished sadness that somehow didn't feel real enough to convince viewers watching at home. Then there's Mikey McCoy. When he spoke about that day, his tone didn't quite line up either. It wasn't that he said the wrong things, it was that he looked like he was struggling to act rather than speak from the heart. Viewers kept saying, "Why does this look like bad acting?" It's harsh, but that's what people online are asking.
Real. Charlie met her on one of these wall humping trips. So the Israeli connections, and then JD Sharp tells me...
What was she doing in Israel?
Well, she was on a pilgrimage.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I just learned, JD Sharp, Jason Dick, the founder of Uncensored AI, just told me that her dad, Erika Kirk's dad, is one of the founders or creators of Raytheon Israel Ltd. Raytheon Israel creates the weapon systems and defense systems like the Iron Dome,
right,
and soaks up trillions of, collectively, trillions of U.S. taxpayer dollars over the course of the last, however many decades.
The body language experts watching those clips even said it felt like someone forcing themselves through the emotions of a story instead of living it. And the most unsettling part, the way the scene itself played out on camera. People saw footage of someone rushing to hide a recording device, insisting, "I just have to get rid of it." But no one explained why. That made everyone question what was actually on that footage. Was it something that didn't fit the official version of events, or just panic from being caught in chaos? Either way, it raised 1,000 new questions. Then, when people replayed the clips showing the security team standing over Charlie's body, it only got stranger. Observers pointed out how their reactions didn't match what you'd expect from men trained to protect. No visible panic, no breakdown, just this eerie calm, and even, according to some viewers, smirks exchanged between them. People began wondering if something was being covered up or if they already knew what was coming. And now that's just speculation, of course, but the visual doesn't sit right with anyone. It feels wrong, like everyone's playing a role instead of living through a tragedy. The lack of genuine emotional response, the odd timing of statements, the missing footage, all of it adds up to this sense of a scene that doesn't feel spontaneous. Some have gone as far as to question whether the public has confused real conspirators with people simply managing optics. The idea floating around online is that maybe this was about crafting an image, a staged version of events meant to serve a bigger agenda rather than an organic, emotional reality.
The dollars annually.
From what I understand, Erika Kirk's father formed Raytheon Israel's division and was the former chairperson / president. I believe he's retired now, but he was actively involved in that particular operation.
That's ridiculous.
All of these connections. They had the custody of Charlie Kirk's body in the custody of J.D. Vance aboard some private jet, going to God knows where. And within 24 hours, Erika Kirk is releasing this propaganda video of Charlie Kirk's hand and the rings and the I love you and the crying and the sobbing.
That young man.
But again, that's what people are saying online, not proven facts. Still, you can't ignore how uncomfortable it feels to watch. When grief doesn't look real, it triggers instinctive discomfort. Something deep inside says, this isn't right. And when so many people pick up on the same emotional mismatch, it's hard to brush off. And here's another twist. After all this, people are now wondering how someone with no major role in the organization might suddenly rise to the top. How does a person go from being completely uninvolved to potentially running the show? That's not a small shift, it's massive, especially for someone once seen as living a quiet, traditional life in the background. Now she's front and center and everyone's watching closely, wondering how this transformation happened so fast. People can't stop talking about how fast everything flipped. One moment she was living that quiet, family-centered life, baking bread, planning dinners, and posting those perfect home moments that made everything seem peaceful and simple. The image was all about being the supportive wife, the homemaker, the one keeping things grounded. But then, seemingly overnight, that entire persona vanished, and suddenly she's being introduced as one of the most powerful voices in the room. People online were like, wait, what just happened? One minute it's, dinner's ready, honey, and the next it's, I'm running the show now. It's a complete 180, and everyone noticed. Folks started asking, how does someone go from being known for beauty pageants and social appearances to leading a multi-million-dollar organization that deals with serious politics and national influence? That's not just a change, it's a transformation that leaves everyone asking if there was always more going on behind the scenes. Now, some are saying maybe this was always part of the plan, like maybe certain roles were already mapped out before things even went public.
That he's guilty. No matter what about a court appearance, anything else, that resonated with every Christian because they're supposed to be forgiving.
Yeah.
And that just subliminally, subconsciously, or very overtly put, yep, he's guilty, he did it, he's responsible, but Erika forgives him. And now she's the champion of TPUSA to come rushing in, building all of these other extensions and satellite, different.
That idea is not confirmed, but the timing feels too sharp to ignore. Because when someone suddenly steps into a position of power they've never trained for, it naturally sparks questions about why now and who wanted this. Then of course the whispers start. Could someone still be pulling strings from behind the curtain? Could decisions still be influenced by voices we don't see? It's all speculation, but speculation that just won't die down. Because every time someone tries to explain it away, new details pop up that make it even harder to believe it's all coincidence. What's also wild is the public advice she's been getting. Some say, show more real emotion, while others think she should try humor to deflect the tension. Either way, the message is clear. People don't find her reactions natural. When emotion feels staged, the audience feels uneasy, and that's exactly what's happening here. Then there's that clip people keep referencing where something unexpected gets mentioned about a major defense contractor. And the reaction in the room was like, did he really just say that? You can actually see the confusion on people's faces. It's the kind of unscripted moment that makes you rewind the video just to make sure you heard it right. And right after that, the focus shifted back to TPUSA's finances, and that's where things got intense. A recent deep dive video went viral showing possible irregularities in the organization's funding flow, and viewers were stunned by how detailed it got. Some people online are convinced that someone inside had started poking around, digging into records that weren't meant to be seen. Now imagine this. Someone finds something really serious in the financials, something that could expose people at the top. If that were true, it would be career-ending, maybe even legally dangerous. So the question becomes, who would be held responsible? And how far would people go to protect themselves? In one version of the story circulating online, there's a claim that certain insiders might have realized someone was close to uncovering something damaging, something that could lead to real trouble.
Is putting on their IRS form that they are sending $1.5 million to this parking lot. Well, I'm sitting here in the parking lot. The business is not here as far as I can tell. What is going on? I mean, maybe they didn't think that anyone was going to actually drive out here and check it out. But as far as I can tell, the business is not here. So my question is, do the Turning Point donors know this is how their money is being spent? That Turning Point is writing on their IRS forms that they're sending $1.5 million to this parking lot.
I did some additional checking. Another thing that is strange is that there is no website for 110.
And in that world, panic spreads fast. Everyone's whispering, who's gonna take the fall? Some say, hypothetically, fingers could have been pointed toward Charlie himself, and that's where the tension might have exploded. Now, no one's claiming to have proof of that, but it's exactly the kind of narrative that catches fire on social media. People love a mystery, especially when it involves power, money, and secret moves inside an organization that's already under public scrutiny. Whatever the truth may be, one thing's clear. The timeline is bizarre, the transitions are too clean, and every attempt to explain it only creates more questions. Something in this story just doesn't add up, and the internet knows it. So here's where things start sounding like a mystery movie, because the theories just keep getting wilder. People online are jokingly suggesting that maybe Charlie didn't actually disappear the way everyone thinks. The idea floating around that he might have staged everything to escape the fallout from what insiders were calling a damning financial situation. Again, there's zero proof, but the internet loves a plot twist, and this one has people completely hooked. The theory goes something like this. If big trouble was about to hit, maybe someone figured it'd be easier to vanish than face the storm. Then once the investigation started, everyone could just point fingers and say, he did it. Now, whether anyone truly believes that or not, it's the type of wild speculation that spreads fast online. People start watching interviews, comparing timelines, analyzing reactions. It's like a digital detective game where everyone's guessing what's real. Even the creator of this original discussion admits it's just brainstorming out loud, trying to make sense of strange expressions and inconsistent body language. It's not about facts, it's about instinct. When people's emotions don't match the moment, your gut says something's off. That's why so many can't shake the feeling that parts of this story don't add up. Now let's talk about the lifestyle behind the scenes, because the numbers here are eye-popping. Charlie was living in a home that some estimate to be worth over $10 million in Austin. A property so grand it looks more like a luxury resort than a private residence. Massive glass walls, landscaped gardens, infinity pools, the kind of place most people only see in magazines. And here's where eyebrows start raising again. With claims about millions moving around, people are questioning how all these properties, expenses, and investments fit together. Over 4 years, $1.5 million doesn't sound like enough to maintain that kind of lifestyle, especially with houses like these.
LLC. 2 weeks ago, I posted a video about red flags at Turning Point USA. Among the many things I mentioned, Turning Point was missing 3 of the 4 990 forms for their shell companies. Well, guess what? The missing forms have mysteriously been posted, and they are marked that they were filed on May 15th, 2025. So they are claiming that they filed 4 forms, the IRS posted 1, held on to the other 3, and for some reason posted them 6 months later when people started talking about it online. Isn't that convenient? But we're not going to dwell on it, because the more important thing is that now we have the missing financials. And you're not going to believe this. It gets even worse.
So naturally, the public's asking, where's the rest coming from? What's really funding all of this? It's not about attacking anyone, it's about transparency. When money flows through organizations, LLCs, and personal accounts, it's normal for people to want to understand how it all connects. One theory even suggests that a certain person mentioned in the records might own a whole strip mall, which would explain some of the financial movement. Others think maybe there's another layer, someone managing the business side quietly, perhaps even using family help to handle online operations. Of course, none of that's confirmed, but the setup feels unusual enough to make everyone talk. shock, because when a company or figure is under public scrutiny, even the smallest inconsistencies start to look suspicious. And in this case, between the lavish homes, the money trails, and the sudden shifts in leadership, it's like every piece of this puzzle keeps leading to more questions instead of answers. Now, about that viral breakdown video, the one made by the Wolves and finance analyst, that's the one that really set social media on fire. The host calmly dissected documents and transactions, connecting dots that most people had never even thought about. The tone was serious, the evidence looked structured, and viewers said it was eye-opening to see everything lined up like that. The moment he started linking names, payments, and unexplained accounts, comment sections exploded. People were tagging friends saying things like, "This can't be real," and "If this is true, that changes everything." And honestly, that's how stories like this snowball. One bold claim, one viral clip, and suddenly everyone wants answers. The final line that stuck with people was when the analyst said, "If I knock on your door and ask to review your books, you'd better hope everything's clean." That line hit hard because it summed up exactly what people were thinking. If someone with serious financial expertise started digging deep, what might they actually find? At this point, the mystery is no longer just about what happened. It's about who really knows the truth, how deep this thing goes, and why so many key details keep getting blurred. Something about this story just doesn't sit right, and the more people look, the more tangled it becomes. At this point, it's like watching someone realize they're in deep trouble. Because that blank, unbothered face staring back across the table says it all. You can just picture the panic kicking in as they try to explain themselves. Wait, it's not what it looks like, let me explain. But the more they talk, the worse it gets. You know that feeling when your words just dig you deeper? Yeah, that's exactly what this moment feels like. It's clear this isn't the kind of person you can charm or talk your way out with. Once they've locked onto something suspicious, they will get to the bottom of it. You can almost hear the stuttering start as the realization hits. There's no talking your way out of this one. So if you're in that hot seat, your only hope might be coming up with a number big enough to make them pause. Because once someone like that starts digging into your finances, it's game over. Now, in fairness, it's important to remember not everything that looks shady is shady. There's a chance the entire situation is being misunderstood. Maybe the connections between TPUSA and that senator are completely legitimate. After all, it's not against any rule for a politician to own or run a company that provides communication, PR, or social media management services. That's pretty normal in today's world, especially when large organizations constantly need digital campaigns, messaging, and outreach. And just because a company doesn't have a big visible office doesn't mean it's not real. Plenty of modern businesses run through contractors or virtual teams. It's how things operate now. So while it's fun to speculate, we can't jump to conclusions without hard proof. Still, you have to admit, the timing, the numbers, and the sudden shifts do make for a seriously compelling story. The person behind this investigation-style video even joked about how intimidating it would be to have someone like that knocking at your door asking to look at your books. Because once someone who truly knows how to trace money starts looking, you better hope every dollar lines up perfectly. But let's take a step back. None of this confirms wrongdoing. It might just be one of those stories where coincidence, emotion, and timing create a perfect storm of suspicion. People see the headlines, the videos, the theories, and suddenly they're connecting dots that may not even belong to the same picture. So maybe, just maybe, this entire thing is way simpler than everyone thinks. Maybe it's just a case of mixed optics, bad timing, and the internet doing what it always does, building a mystery out of confusion. Still, with every new clip, every new claim, and every new leak, it's hard not to feel like something bigger might be hiding in plain sight. And that's why people can't stop watching, sharing, and speculating, because no matter what side you're on, this story has everything: power, money, mystery, and the question nobody can seem to answer. So, what do you think? Is this all just smoke with no fire, or is there something deeper we're not seeing yet? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, hit that like button if you've been following this wild ride, and don't forget to subscribe and share, because the next update could change everything. See you on the next one.